Hello everybody, welcome back. I am TheChornick and this is my Elder Scrolls 6 theory series, and in this episode is about Hammerfell. Yes, we are going over Hammerfell for this week's Elder Scrolls 6 theory episode, and this I have been waiting to do for quite a while because this is my most likely choice and my most likely prediction for this being the next Elder Scrolls 6 game. So I will delve into my theories about this possibly being the next game, and I will also describe what could happen and what could be the plot of this Hammerfell game if it is to be the next game. So I will delve into some of the lore and then make my own predictions off of that, as I've done in my previous videos, especially during the High Rock and Argonia videos I've also previously made. But anyway, I will go over Hammerfell now, and let's delve right into this topic, shall we? Alright, so Hammerfell is a home to the Redguard. They are kind of a darker race people. They came from the island of Ukanda, or Yukuda, I should say Yukuda. That's how you pronounce it. But anyway, Yukuda is a continent that is west of Tamriel, and they came from this continent after it sank, or basically lost into the sea, and they came to Hammerfell centuries ago, and they made their home here onto Hammerfell after taking out the Nords and the Elves that were already fighting over this land. They took it over pretty easily and established their own settlement and basically named Hammerfell for the Redguards. So anyway, and with the plot about Yukuda, I've also thought that maybe they should be more lore in the next game about Yukuda, and maybe we could have some sort of plot in which we go visit Yukuda, or maybe there's some land of Yukuda that is said that arose all of a sudden, and maybe this could bring up the possibility of Yukuda rising again. Perhaps we could even see Yukuda as a whole continent rise up by this time, or maybe there's some, because there was a magical force that kind of brought Yukuda down, or maybe it just sank because the earth or whatever, the Nirn, just that's how natural forces did it, was bring Yukuda out of the picture and basically sank into the sea. But maybe perhaps it rose again. It probably won't take such a quick time to rise, but perhaps maybe Hammerfell is taking place a lot farther than what we expect, and maybe Hammerfell takes place several hundred, maybe even 1,000 years after Skyrim. So who knows? But I hope we would see some more Yukuda plots or theories, or not really theories, but lore, or maybe some other backstory to Yukuda in the next game. So that's a major thing I'm mainly looking forward to in the next game. But the next thing we will discuss, which is another major thing, is the conflict between the forebears and the crowns. And I hope that we would have some plot between this. There'll probably be some other similar Civil War concept, a little Civil War kind of campaign that we'll have between the forebears and the crowns, kind of like what we did in Skyrim. Maybe we'd have half the cities belonging to the forebears and half the cities belonging to the crowns, and then maybe join one side in trying to take out the other and claim the land for either the forebears or the crowns. But we also have to consider that Hammerfell has also left the Empire. They are now independent people, and thus probably a little bit more united in their own way. Perhaps they'll put aside their differences and try to make their own government, their own central government, and maybe make a whole new political party that will arise and take control of Hammerfell. And maybe perhaps they will finally become a truly united Redguard people. So that's just something we could keep in mind. Hopefully that happens. Maybe that happens, but hopefully we'd have some plot with forebears and crowns, obviously, in the next game. Whether it's politically or warfare, who knows? But hopefully we'll have something like that in the next game. Now, if this is kind of going off topic, but it's a new theory. there is a dragon called Nafaliargus. I think that's how you pronounce his name. I'll just call him Nafal, because that is just short for his name. I'm just going to call him that. So, Nafal is an ancient dragon. He's one of those old-time dragons that was used by Tiber Septim himself in order to conquer Hammerfell and wipe out the crowns along Stros Mackay. And he was, he was a very, very important dragon, and it is, is kind of a possibility that Alduin resurrected him during the time of Skyrim, and maybe even Nafal could be back and in having some sort of major plot within the next game. Maybe even the Dragonborn comes back. Maybe he could just be a major enemy, or maybe major ally for the Dragonborn. But I highly doubt you'll be a Dragonborn in the next game. But speaking of which, with the Dragonborn, there is something a lot like the Dragonborn in the next game in terms of the Thu'um. And yes, there is a power like the Thu'um in Hammerfell amongst the Red Guards. It is called sword singing. Now, sword singing is similar to Thu'um's shouts, in which it enhances the ability of the wielder of this, singing of the sword. They are able to enhance their sword and weapon skills, and they're even able to summon weapon enchantments and able to do all sorts of things in terms of, battling with combat weaponry and all of that. So hopefully we could even see some sort of sword singing plot in which you can be able to have this, unique kind of spell kind of thing, which makes you more unique. Speaking of being unique, like how the hero of Skyrim was the Dragonborn, the hero of Hammerfell could be the Hunding, which was basically the name for the hero of Hammerfell or the Redguard people in times of great strife. And so hopefully, if, obviously there's going to be some huge conflict in which you, the hero, will be the savior of in the next game. Something also to kind of keep in mind is that, with the Hunding, or Hunding, I keep pronouncing those things wrong, but the Hunding is sometimes related to a pair of heroes. So perhaps if there was some kind of co-op, integrated in the next game, perhaps you and your friend could be known as the Hunding. So maybe you and your friend could be something more important if there was some sort of co-op thing, which I mentioned and went over my theories upon in a previous video that I went over for multiplayer ideas for Elder Scrolls 6. But anyway, let's move on to this next topic, shall we? Now, this next topic is kind of related back to Nafal, in which it relates to Cyrus, and probably will have more Cyrus lore. And Cyrus was part of, he was the main, hero of the game Redguard. And perhaps we'll hear more about Cyrus in the next game as well. So, I don't know if he'll be resurrected or have any, impact or being alive or at all in this next game, but definitely we'll hear some lore in book about him, perhaps in the next game as well. So now, anyway, let's move on to the next one, shall we? The next point I'll bring up is magic. Now, magic will probably change a little bit in the next game as well, as there are different possibilities for new magic spells, such as sand and wind and even shadow spells, but most particularly just the sand and wind spells. And perhaps we'll have sand spawn, kind of like this ash spawn that we've seen in Soulstime in DLC. I believe that one of the spells that could be summoned using sand spawn will be kind of like, we could have some sort of sand spawn that comes up, and we could summon kind of like golem sand people. I don't know, but we could even flash sand at people's eyes, probably makes them blind. It could be kind of a blinding sand spell. But anyway, there's some ideas you can have. There's also a sort of wind cloak spell that was introduced in Skyrim, in which you could surround yourself with wind and it blows enemies away. It's kind of like, you could use it. Maybe you could have some sort of, wind power in which you kind of blow people away, kind of like with a Thu'um, force, the force shout, unrelenting force, Fushrida, whatever. But instead, you have it in the form of a magic spell in which to blow people away. Also, as you can see in this video, me owning all these Dwemer, robot things, all these Dwemer spiders and spheres, whatever. I am in a Dwemer ruin, and so this is what I'm going to bring up to my next point, is that the Dwemer could also have a pretty significant impact in the next game, especially because Hammerfell has been the place where the Rukin, I don't know how to pronounce their name either, I don't know how to pronounce these names at all, but the Rukin clan used to, used to be here, and built a lot of cities, particularly the city of Valen City. That's what was the name. It was also known as the Hammer City, which the Volendrung, which was a Dwemer artifact, was once placed in. So perhaps the Dedrick quest for the Volendrung, I think that's how you pronounce the name, Volendrung, would be placed here in this city, and this is where you get your Dwemer artifact, which is the Volendrung. Maybe perhaps, the Dwemer return and try to take back that artifact, the artifact that the Dedrick Prince tried to take from them, Malakath, and all that. So perhaps we would, have some story with that as well. I'll name off a couple more little theories here. There is once an ancient worshipped god named Ebenarm, which is kind of the cult in which kind of worships him. It's kind of similar to the Fighters Guild that you've seen elsewhere. The Ebenarm clan basically worships this god of war, and basically Ebenarm has a lot of enemies in both the Aedra and the Daedra. So perhaps we would see a little bit more lore with this Ebenarm and its cult. So hopefully we could perhaps see some of these followers of the Ebenarm in the next game as well. Alright, the next little thing I'll go over is the city of Key Gothy, I think that's how you pronounce it, which is kind of related to the Dark Brotherhood, and which is an assassin city. So perhaps we would see more of the Dark Brotherhood, maybe a sanctuary there, but that's probably where the Dark Brotherhood plot would take place. Also, considering the Thalmor have been kicked out of Hammerfell, I don't think we'll see the Thalmor in the next game. But perhaps if there was a Civil War, not really Civil War, I mean the Great War, if there was a Great War plot, then perhaps maybe we would see them, but I highly doubt it, because the fact that Hammerfell broke away. But if the Imperial troops try to come back into Hammerfell, I just highly doubt that it would happen, but perhaps it will. Who knows? Bethesda can do what they see fit in order to do this. Alright, a couple other things I'm going to talk about in these next couple of theories to finish it off. One being the Windscore Temple, which is a temple that used to be used and run by the Blades. So perhaps we would see more plot and lore with the Blades, especially because in Skyrim they were regaining their foot and regrowing the Blades, so maybe we would see more plot or lore with the Blades in the next game as well. Also, this next thing I'm going to talk about is a little plot idea I had in terms of a dual province with Hierarch. Now, Orsinium was both sacked by both the Bretons and the Redguards, so I believe that maybe if the orcs try to retake Orsinium or grow, having some sort of threat in Hammerfell, maybe we'd have both a Hierarch and Hammerfell storyline, both province, kind of dual province, in which they try to take out the orcs. I kind of feel bad for the orcs, considering that they are always like pushed aside and seen as the bad race, and everyone kind of hates them, and they only reside basically in strongholds along Skyrim. So maybe we could perhaps see a different sort of plot in terms of maybe helping them regain Orsinium or something like that in the next game as well. Alright, and one last little theory I have, and what little thing I have to point up here, is the city of Dragonstar, and perhaps maybe we would see some little lore between the conflict of the Nords and the Redguards in the city of Dragonstar, considering it's kind of like Berlin in terms of there's a Great Wall, and there's the Nords on one side, and then there's the Redguards in there, and maybe we would see some war with Skyrim in the next game as well. So perhaps we would have a remake of Skyrim, or maybe just little parts of Skyrim, which we would try to either fend off Skyrim, probably in favor of the Red Guards in the next game. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching my video. This was probably my longest theory video yet, because there was a lot of things to go over. I probably missed a few things, but you know, besides that, I think it was a pretty good video. What are your guys' ideas and thoughts? As always, post them in the comments and sections below. Do you think Hammerfell should be the next one, like I think it will be most likely? But anyway, guys, next week I'll go over some of the Isles, as that will be my next video. So please post your comments and theories in that video if you want me to go over them for the next video. Please subscribe if you'd like to see more. Thanks, guys, and peace off. Thank you very much.